Hello, everyone. Chief Meteorologist Tim Buckley here with you. It is 2 o'clock on your Tuesday, and this has been certainly quite a gloomy and wet day of weather. We're getting rid of this particular storm and going to say goodbye to it as we get into tonight. And tomorrow we'll have some sunshine. The reason we're here chatting a little bit more, though, is I am watching by the end of the week, Friday could be a day that actually has our first brush with winter weather of the season. What I'm seeing is that there could be an opportunity for maybe a mix of rain, snow, and possibly some icy precipitation too. All of those things could be gearing up for Friday morning, possibly lasting into midday and Friday afternoon as well. So lots to talk about and get to. Wanted to just take this opportunity to chat with you here on WFMY Plus. So thanks for being along for the ride, and let's get right to it. So where are we now? We're looking, of course, across the Triad currently. It's gloomy, it's still cold out there, but we're starting to warm up a little bit from where we were. This clearing out process is going to be a little bit of a slow one around our area. So this is currently in Greensboro. Obviously, we've got a good amount of clouds around the area, but most of the rain has started to push away from us. So if you look on the wider view, it's pretty clear what's been going on with this storm. The rain all pushing out of here, but we're still left with some lingering drizzle. What you can see a lot of times with these systems is even though most of it looks like it's been clearing away from us, we're left with some of those low clouds, and the cold air can kind of create some drizzle that'll probably linger through a good chunk of the rest of the afternoon and into this evening. So the rain mostly done, and boy, has it been cold out there as well. Looking at the current conditions, temperatures have been at their warmest over the last hour or two. Areas that are seeing a little bit of sunshine are out here in the foothills, a little bit warmer. So Mount Airy, Wilkesboro, areas like that, watching a little bit of more warmth, but around locally, we're still stuck in the 40s. So there's not a lot of warmth to be had for today, but even still, it's gotten a little bit better than where it was. Rain totals for today, it's our wettest day since before Halloween, which sounds impressive, but we were still only able to muster about 1/3 of an inch to 1/2 an inch of rain. So maybe not what you'd like, not as impressive to help battle our drought. We are in a drought, but again, not quite as impressive as you might have been thinking. So that's where we are now. This system is pulling away from us. We don't really see the rain coming back, certainly not for tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll actually see a sunshine-filled day. One thing to watch overnight tonight would be, as temperatures do dip down below freezing, if you have any lingering puddles, wet roads, wet sidewalks, things like that, moisture on the deck behind your house, anything along those lines could freeze a little bit. So there is at least some opportunity for black ice overnight tonight, and that could be a factor early tomorrow morning. Not widespread. I don't think it's cause for super concern or anything like that, but just be mindful of it. As we go throughout the day on Wednesday, there's plenty of sunshine. We'll get into the upper 40s, and then we'll keep the dry weather around for Thursday. So the next 2 days of weather for us should be fine, with a good amount of sunshine, as I said, and overall just dry weather sticking around. So dry weather sticking around for Wednesday, for Thursday, both of those days. And then after that is where we start to get a little bit more interesting when it comes to the forecast. So what we've seen now is that this system is pulling away from us. High pressure moves in and keeps us dry. After that, once we get into Thursday and Friday, that's where we start to see our next opportunity for a storm. And, if we kind of set the stage here for you, on Thursday, there's likely to be a low pressure gathering right here in the Gulf. And when that happens, we tend to start to see moisture moving our way. And at the same time, there's going to be some colder air sliding in to the north. So moisture coming into the south, and then high pressure kind of moving in to the north of that. That's a setup that can sometimes be favorable for winter weather for us. If you get high pressure to the north sending cold air down the coast, that could be something that works out for us if you're wanting to see some snow or ice around the Carolinas. That's something that we tend to see. So let's look forward in our futurecast. This is Wednesday. Here's Thursday. There's nothing going on there. But once we get to Thursday night and early Friday morning, you can see what we're keeping an eye on. So this would be the setup. This is on the European computer model, which tends to be one of our more accurate ones. High pressure up here. Like I said, high pressure anchored in New England, and then moisture to the south. So what that does is the cold air flow around that is, coming down the coast out of the northeast. And so when you have an airflow like that, you're funneling in cold air. This is why I think it's possible that you could cash in on a little bit of snow or maybe some ice to start the day on Friday. A couple of factors will be at play here. How early does the precipitation arrive? That's a big part of this. If it starts early in the morning on Friday, there's a pretty good chance we're going to see this come in as frozen precipitation, either snow or ice. If it takes a while longer, let's say the precipitation holds off until midday or the afternoon, at that point we would probably be too warm and it would most likely be just rain. Does that make sense? So that's kind of what we're looking at. But this model is pretty optimistic or pretty bullish on the fact of it starting as some snow. What we'll dive into a little bit from now is that it's not the case everywhere in North Carolina. So there's likely to be a cutoff line. This model keeps it going through the middle of the day and even into the afternoon, and then it pulls away from us going into Saturday. That would give us a mostly dry day of weather on Saturday, and then into Sunday we might see another little push of some rain. So the forecast is actually quite difficult. There are a lot of things that we just don't know at this point, but there are possibilities of winter weather that we'll have to keep an eye on for our area. So let's zoom in a little bit more and let me show you what I mean. So this is Friday morning, as I said. And then here's Friday midday. You see how we kind of go through that process of seeing a little bit of snow, then maybe a little bit of mix. That's what the pinkish color is. That would be some mix. And then kind of tapering off Friday evening into the weekend. So there's a lot of factors at play here. Bottom line, a couple of things to kind of keep an eye on. When we talk about a winter weather event, typically, we have to be within about 3 days to start narrowing down what type of precipitation we're looking at. So we're right on the edge of that right now. So I do think for Friday, we have that possibility of winter weather, but it's not a guarantee, being that we're still about 4 to 5 days away. Some computer models, I've only shown you one so far, some of them only have us getting rain. And then others have that mixed bag of ice and snow. So there is disagreement. There is uncertainty with that. There's also uncertainty with what time of day it would be starting. So even though we have a lot of details to work out in the forecast still, we still are somewhat concerned that there could be some travel disruptions. And so I think what we need to be mindful of is that you might have a bad morning commute on Friday, and that it might result in some, changes to daily life. So we might look at Friday morning being a bad commute, and there could be delays or cancellations, those type of things. But like I said, there's disagreement on exactly who gets what here. So some of them have a good amount of winter weather. Most of this would be light, in terms of how much could we be talking about. We're not really there yet, but it is possible that somebody could pick up over an inch of snow. And the better odds for that would be in our northern counties, closer to the Virginia state line, and especially into Virginia. But as you see here, it's not the case for everybody. Some people could get missed a little bit. So bottom line, Friday, the possibility of snow is there, but it's not a guarantee. So if you're looking to build a snowman or go sledding or things like that, I would caution your optimism or get your hopes kind of in check a little bit at this point, just because we're not so sure at this stage of the game, being that we're sitting here on Tuesday. But there is the possibility, and to be honest with you, it's the first possibility that we've seen all season long. Remember, we're still just in the first couple of days of December, and we're already watching that chance. So Friday morning would be our possibility. We are watching this as we go throughout the week. I have gone ahead and called it an weather impact alert day for Friday morning through evening. Possibility of a snow ice mix with some rain too. The areas that have the better chance of that would be north of I-85. We see this a lot of times with winter weather in our area. It varies a lot from position. So the farther south you are, the more likely you are to be a little bit warmer. The farther north you are, the more likely you are to be a little bit colder. And when it comes to winter weather, it really depends on not just the temperature at the ground, but also the temperature all the way from the cloud down to the surface. And so that's something we'll keep an eye on here too, is not only is it cold enough at the surface to maybe create some frozen weather, but what about between the cloud and the ground? So the type of precipitation, that's often determined by exactly, who sees a little bit of warmer air creeping into the forecast above our heads. So the difference between rain, sleet, and freezing rain is this right here. Snow, that's where you have cold air between the cloud and the ground the whole way down. Sleet, that's where you have a little bit of warm air in the middle, then it refreezes and turns into these little ice pellets on the ground. Freezing rain, you have a lot more warm air, and that freezes on contact, and rain is pretty straightforward. It's cold, it melts, and it's liquid all the way down. So those are the kinds of precipitation that we can see, and those will be factors at play as we go into this event. On Friday is where is that warm air popping in for us. So that's kind of where we stand. As of now, I tend to think we would maybe get a little bit of snow on the front end of things and then see some more mixing as the day goes on, because some more of that warmer air would start to creep in above our heads. Our forecast model, it's still not quite, it only goes out so far. The one that we use for you on television is a pretty high resolution model. It only goes out about 70 hours. So basically about to Friday morning at this point. What it has is it has a period of some snow starting as early as 5, 6, and 7 a.m. on your Friday. And then, some mixing behind that. If you look farther down the line, it does bring more precipitation our way. So this would just be the beginning of that event. But it does start the situation as some snow on Friday morning. So all the more reason to be watching this pretty carefully and seeing what could be happening for us. There are a couple other ways that we could show you some of this uncertainty if I use some more computer models that we use to help us forecast. Just give me a second to pull them up here. Meanwhile, while I have you, we can show you some snow falling up in Massachusetts. This is the same system we're getting today. It's doing that up in New England. Pretty nice scene, isn't it? So to keep an eye on what we have going on here, this is maybe a little hard to understand, but I'll pop it up for you anyway. So this here is what we call a look at ensembles. So when we talk about this is kind of what we're seeing. This is a computer model data for the Triad area at PTI. And what this is trying to do is show what is the chance that we could have any sort of snow in our area coming up on Friday. And what it's doing here is it's giving us 50 different versions of a computer model. It's popping up a good chance of that, and it's actually giving us an opportunity to maybe see about an inch of snow at times. Now, not every model agrees on that. So that's just one model's idea. This one is quite a bit less certain. So this is the one that says basically, hey, you're probably not going to get snow out of this. It's more likely just going to be rain. And so there are so many ways that you can kind of break this down. But I do think right now there's enough possibility of snow that basically if you're planning your life going into the weekend, going into Friday, just know you could have some disruptions. Friday morning and midday, there could be some slick travel and slippery conditions, whether it be from snow or ice. And that it would probably be out of here by Saturday. That's kind of the main bullet points that I would put out there for you right now. But the chance of this is probably trending up and not trending down as we stand at this point. That's kind of the way I see it. So just know that that's kind of where we are right now. And we'll continue to have more detail as we get a little bit closer. And you can bet we'll be giving you more updates for sure. As far as winter weather forecasting is concerned, we tend to look at the days out from a system. Right now, we are in that 3 to 5 day window. So when we talk about our forecasting process, once you get into 3 to 5 days away,